This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight's guilty verdict. Colin Tweedy is convicted of dangerous driving causing death in the hit and run of a 10-year-old girl. Crying foul, neighbors speak out against the infilling of coastal wetland in Lunenburg County. And start your engines, a Nova Scotia teen gets ready for his NASCAR Canada debut.
After what has been a pretty nice week across the province, weather not necessarily so nice for the long weekend. I'll have your full Victoria Day weekend forecast just ahead.
Good evening. A judge has found Colin Tweedy guilty on all charges in the death of Talia Forrest. The 10-year-old Cape Breton girl was struck and killed while riding her bike almost 5 years ago. Today, her family says they finally received justice. The CBC's Kyle Moore was in the courthouse in Sydney when the verdict came down and brings us this report.
Oh my God, the Lord justice got served today.
They left the courtroom filled with emotion. It's a day the family of Talia Forrest has been waiting for a long time.
I'm extremely happy that he got found guilty today on all 3 counts.
It's been a while, almost 5 years of fighting for justice for Talia, and we just got it.
Colin Tweedy left the courtroom surrounded by sheriffs and police. He was found guilty of dangerous driving causing death, impaired driving causing death, and leaving the scene of an accident.
Extremely hurt. It's extremely hurt on my sister. She doesn't work. She don't eat. She cries 24 hours a day. She sleeps at the gravesite. It's just terrible.
Talia Forrest was struck by an SUV while out for a bike ride on Black Rock Road in 2019. During the trial, court heard that it was dark at the time Forrest was struck and Tweedy thought he'd hit a deer. In his decision today, Justice Kevin Cody did not agree, saying in this case, however, nothing jumped out of the ditch along the northbound lane in front of Mr. Tweedy. He also said nothing Tweedy told police was consistent with evidence in the case, saying instead he shut his eyes to the horrible truth of what he had just done and continued on at the same pace.
That's what happened here. Somebody drank and drove and somebody died. And it could happen to anybody. If it doesn't happen today, it might happen the next time you drink and drive. So the strongest message is not to do it.
Both Crown and defense would not say what their recommendations will be for sentencing. Tweedy's lawyer says he isn't ruling out appealing the decision.
We're going to think about it, yeah. Just when the decisions were being read out, when the decision was being read out, there was a couple of issues that caught my attention.
But for the family of Talia Forrest, today's decision brought closure.
But not move on yet until he is in jail and is held accountable for what he's done, because he's still living freely right now.
Colin Tweedy has been released on conditions. He will be back here in Sydney Court for sentencing on July 26th. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
RCMP in Alberta say they've linked 4 homicides in the 1970s to a serial killer. They said Gary Allen Serreri died in prison in the U.S. One of the 4 victims, Barbara McLean, was originally from Inverness.
With assistance from Interpol and the Idaho State Police Forensic Services, Serreri's DNA was confirmed as a match to the unknown male DNA profile present on all 4 of our young victims. Due to forensic evidence, witness statements, and similar fact evidence, the Alberta RCMP believe that Gary Allen Serreri is responsible for the murders of Patsy McQueen, Eva Dvorak, Melissa Rohorak, and Barbara McLean.
The RCMP also say the killer may have had more victims. They say Serreri lived between Canada and the U.S., often changing his appearance and using aliases to hide his identity. The stage is now set for a murder trial this fall for the 4 teens accused of attacking another teenager last month at the Halifax shopping centre. Lawyers for the 4 accused were in Nova Scotia Youth Justice Court this morning to confirm the details. Blair Rhodes reports.
It has been almost a month since 16-year-old Ahmad Al-Marak was stabbed in a parkade at the Halifax shopping centre. He died later in hospital. In the days immediately following that attack on April 22nd, 4 teenagers were arrested, 2 16-year-old boys, a 14-year-old boy, and a 14-year-old girl. They're each charged with a single count of second-degree murder. They're all being tried together. Some of them face additional charges, including for alleged breaches of previous court orders. The 14-year-old boy is also accused of sexual assault for an incident in October of last year. For now, all 3 males have agreed to remain in custody. 2 of them are being held in the youth jail in Waterville. One of the 16-year-olds is being held in the adult jail in Pictou. The girl has a bail hearing set for next month. The Crown is opposed to her release. The trial is now scheduled to begin in youth court on September 23rd and run off and on until early November. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
Police in Halifax continue to search for a missing man who was last seen early Tuesday morning. 48-year-old Steve Corkum walked away from the emergency room at the QE2 hospital in Halifax and has not been seen since. Search and rescue crews, along with police, conducted an extensive search in the Point Pleasant Park area of Halifax, but did not locate him. Corkum is described as a white man, about 5'9", 190 pounds, with thinning dark hair and dark brown eyes. Police say they do not suspect foul play. Corkum's family is begging anyone who might have seen him to come forward. Halifax police have charged a youth support worker following an incident this week. Police say they received a report on Tuesday that a victim received a number of harassing text messages of a sexual nature from an unknown phone number. During the investigation, police found the suspect was a youth support worker at a community-based organization in Halifax. Police say they believe the suspect got the victim's contact information from the organization's system. A 51-year-old man was arrested in Halifax on Wednesday. He is scheduled to appear in court at a later date to face multiple charges. Well, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans says it seized more than 100 kilograms of unauthorized elvers at Toronto's Pearson Airport. DFO says the elvers have an estimated value of up to $500,000. They were packaged to be shipped overseas. And this comes after DFO announced in March the elver fishery would not open this year due to conservation and safety concerns. An investigation into the incident for violations under the Fisheries Act is now underway. A piece of vacant land in Lunenburg County is up for sale, and it's creating controversy in the community. A few years ago, it wasn't land at all. It was part of a wetland on the edge of a coastal pond. The land was created through infilling, and some of the people who live nearby it say it should not have been allowed. Taryn Grant reports.
There's often more wildlife than there are people around West Havers Pond. It's what many of the residents love about the area.
There are species that are at risk and protected in this area, so we feel quite strongly that it should be maintained. You know, busloads of school kids come down here. There are numerous visitors in the summer just to see the area and hear the birdsong. I mean, you can hear it around us now. It's marvelous.
These neighbors are worried that a project to infill part of the pond is a threat to the ecosystem, which is designated as environmentally sensitive. It started 2 years ago when the owner of a lot, made up mostly of wetland, started trucking in gravel to dump over the marshy vegetation.
Which over the course of the next year eroded and washed into the pond, which affects the whole ecological balance of the pond water. And then 24, she came again and put in earth, huge stones and rocks and more gravel to increase and create really a small piece of land in the wetland.
The second infill happened last month and created this strip of land. Municipal and provincial officials say they can't stop it. The property owner is not breaking any rules. The local councillor thinks that's a problem.
My hope is that this will provide council an opportunity to discuss how we can tighten up zoning regulations and bylaws and hopefully not have issues like this crop up in the future.
The property owner would not speak to CBC for this story, but records show she bought the lot 3 years ago in a tax sale for about $3,000. She recently listed it for sale for $225,000. It's not likely anyone can build on it. They would need exemptions from local bylaws, and the municipality is now working on new regulations that will further control coastal development. But it could be used to park a trailer.
Well, the next thing we're worried about is that we got a chip truck here this summer and somebody's out here selling French fries. And God knows what'll go into the pond from that.
Some of the people who live around the pond will take their concerns to Municipal Council in a public meeting next week. They want the infill removed, and they're hoping the rules will change so nothing like this will happen again. Taryn Grant, CBC News, Mater's Cove.
And Jay Scotland is in for Ryan once again. Happy Friday.
Yes, and for a lot of folks, the long weekend, which does put more pressure on me as a forecaster, but at the same time,
you can handle it.
I do like 3 days off, so I'm not going to complain. So let's dig into the forecast. It was a big range of temperatures again. If you were near the water, obviously much cooler with that wind coming in off the Atlantic today. So certainly along the Atlantic coast, we saw some cooler temperatures than inland areas, although at least at Stanfield hit 20 degrees this afternoon. I know we had some cloudy periods into Halifax. It did feel considerably cooler at times today, just with that breeze coming in off the water. Now, we do have, as we edge into the later evening hours and into the overnight hours tonight, some fog patches that will set up. And up above us as well, clouds will gradually begin to increase. We'll say for northern areas of the province, this is where you'll see a partly cloudy sky tonight. For more southern areas, certainly along the coast, we will watch for those clouds to increase. Some fog patches, even some light drizzle will be possible as we edge into the overnight hours through tomorrow morning. So some patchy fog, drizzle with a mostly cloudy sky along the Atlantic coast. Sun cloud mix for more northern areas to start the day, but the clouds will be increasing. Edging into the afternoon, Halifax south starting to get into the showers through the afternoon hours, and that chance of showers and that cloud cover does spread further north into the evening hours as well. So if we see sun breaks for your Saturday, you'll see more of them in the morning than in the afternoon. And I think for the HRM and areas to the south, you're likely to see overcast conditions after that morning fog and a good chance of showers, periods of rain afternoon and into the evening as well. Temperatures also quite cool with that brisk easterly wind compared to inland areas in the province. Amy?
All right, but at least it's the weekend, right?
It is the weekend, and it's not all bad. You'll see your full forecast, the full long weekend forecast in just a bit.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Thanks, Jay. A technical problem resulted in canceled ferry crossings on the route between Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island today. The 8:30 and 10 o'clock crossings were canceled this morning with a note for passengers to watch the Northumberland Ferries website for updates on later crossings. After 11 o'clock, the company said the 11:45 crossing from Caribou to Wood Islands would not happen. CBC News spoke to some passengers who were already at the dock waiting to board for that crossing when they learned it wasn't going ahead. This afternoon, the company issued a release saying all remaining crossings for the day would be canceled. Regular sailings will resume tomorrow morning. Both Halifax bridges are set for multiple temporary closures this spring and summer, starting this Sunday. Over the course of the summer, the entire center lane of the McKay Bridge will be replaced. That will require 4 weekends of work, 3 in June, another in July. The McDonald Bridge will also be closed for 1 weekend in August for routine maintenance. And the McDonald Bridge will also be closed a few times this summer for community events, starting this Sunday from 7:30 to 2 p.m. for the Blue Nose Marathon. The executive director of the Blue Nose Marathon expects about 9,500 runners will take part in various races over the weekend. She has some advice for first-timers.
Enjoy the experience and, really celebrate your training, taking that action, like that first step forward and getting out and getting moving, and really just, come early, enjoy all of it, take it in. The start line will have tons of energy, be smiling when you come across the finish line. Who cares about your Garmin and what the time is, but, and then come in and enjoy everything we have here at the Amera Oval.
And I talked to Blue Nose Marathon Executive Director Sherry Robbins about what it takes to put on a race weekend each and every year. That is our newsmaker just after 6:30. As stock car racing season gets underway, a Nova Scotia teen is set to compete in the NASCAR Canada season opener in Ontario. As the CBC's Luke Ettinger tells us, the young driver is feeling optimistic ahead of his series debut.
About a decade ago, Danny Chisholm completed his first laps around Scotia Speed World outside Halifax at the age of 8. Now, the 19-year-old engineering student from Port Williams is making his NASCAR Canada debut.
It's not something that you do overnight, but I'm really excited to finally make the big step.
This weekend, Chisholm will be behind the wheel of the number 19 White Motorsports and Janny King ride in Ontario.
We went out there and tested on a couple weeks ago, and we were able to be 8th overall, and we beat some really competitive cars in the series. So it was nice to be inside that top 10 and have a good car, and I think that we'll have a legitimate shot at going for the win come Sunday.
About 30 drivers are expected to take to the track on Sunday for the National Touring Series season opener. While he plans to race in the Maritimes this summer, Chisholm hopes to also return to NASCAR Canada.
We are really hoping to run some more races. Those will be announced as they come, and then definitely maybe get behind the wheel of this thing a few times this year and hopefully go for some wins.
Last summer, Chisholm made his Atlantic Pro Stock Tour debut with a third-place finish, but he started racing in go-karts and smaller stock cars. Chisholm says checkered flags and national championships have come with a commitment to the sport, and he's got some advice for rookies who will be making their debut at his home track this weekend.
Spent my first 2 years just running at the back, trying to figure it out. So don't think that if you're not winning right away that it's a big deal. You just got to stay at it, and you got to be adamant and work hard.
Luke Ettinger, CBC News, Halifax.
Jimbo the drag clown is coming to Nova Scotia later this month. She is a performance artist, musician, designer, and internationally revered. And among many of her accomplishments, she is the winner of the 2023 RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star Season 8. She spoke with the CBC Main Street's Jeff Douglas on the eve of embarking on her tour.
So Jimbo's Drag Circus, this is a one queen show.
Yes. Well, technically, there is a background, two backup dancers, two sexy backup dancers, Dawn and Andrew, who help play different characters throughout the show with me. And then I have a sidekick, my friend Andrew, who plays Jeepers, my musical accompanist and sidekick. So I play 6 characters that I do changes throughout the show, and then the other ensemble, they help fill in and create different scenes and characters.
Look at me, Bobby!
Part of clowning is all about surprising yourself and the audience at the same time, and that's what I love about drag. You can kind of go in any direction. You can find new things about yourself to express, and you can really surprise yourself. And the drag circus is really another big surprise. I knew I had it in me. I knew I had the community and the background to do it, but to execute it at this level and for audiences to come and to leave going, holy, that was a next level experience. I feel like I just saw the best drag show I could have seen. I really each time want to put the best show forward and really entertain people.
Jimbo is a drag clown and all about pushing boundaries and leaving people wondering, what the hell?
Clowning is all about really listening to your audience and making big choices and big decisions. And drag is an amplification of yourself. So they kind of go hand in hand. The bigger you kind of make yourself in drag and then add that other layer of being extra through clowning, it can really be super heightened, super entertaining. The truth is to be totally available and with your audience so that you know that you're on a journey together. The people aren't there just watching you have an experience. They go, oh, we're having this experience together. And that's what I love about drag. It sort of brings together all different forms and mediums. It's choreography, it's direction, it's visual, it's costumes, it's lighting, it's tricks, it's illusion. So it's all really exciting.
You start your tour tomorrow, is that right?
That's right. We start tomorrow in Toronto.
Yeah. How are you feeling going in?
I can't wait. We did 30 cities across the US, and it's a well-oiled machine. The reviews are awesome. The response has been incredible. And I am so proud to say this is a Canadian-made show that we get to tour across this country. Not a lot of drag queens, not a lot of entertainers get the opportunity to tour their own country so extensively. And it's been a long time dream of mine to have my own show and take it to my people and celebrate this win that felt like it was mine, but also so many different people across the country and around the world.
Coming up, rain and cool temperatures reduce wildfire risk in Fort McMurray, but firefighters aren't letting their guard down. The U.S. says aid is now flowing into Gaza. Trucks rolled in via the temporary pier built by the Americans. And Jay is up next with the weather forecast. We will see you after the break. All right, Jay is back with the full long weekend forecast, and you were hinting that, not all sunshine, but we'll have a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're going to see maybe some sun breaks into your Saturday morning, certainly for more northern parts of the province. I do expect a good chance of showers, certainly later in the day Saturday through much of Sunday. It's not necessarily a washout. Showers, drizzle, cloudy conditions. not looking too bad for Victoria Day on Monday. So we'll get into your full forecast in just a moment. There's a look at our daytime highs or our afternoon temperatures today, and it was quite a contrast from coastal areas to inland areas. So we're up into the low to mid-20s today, barely cracking double digits for areas, though, immediately downwind of the water today. Otherwise, though, it was at least aside from that cool breeze coming in off the water, fairly quiet conditions. Has been a very quiet week across the province, and not too bad either. As we look to move into the evening hours, though, we will watch for some cloud cover to start to develop. I'm not expecting it to be quite as cloudy for northern areas overnight tonight into tomorrow morning as what we're seeing here, but do know that fog patches will be possible across the province, coastal areas in particular. This is where we could see some fog and some drizzle overnight into the early morning hours on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, those clouds will begin to thicken up for more northern and eastern areas. Showers will begin to move in through the afternoon and evening as well, and we'll keep that shower chance highest for southern areas, but as we get into Sunday, we're going to keep the chance of light showers in across the province. Low cloud and a brisk easterly wind for most areas will keep temperatures quite cool as well, certainly if you're near the coast. And then as we roll into Sunday night, we should start to see that sky beginning to clear, starting with maybe some fog patches as we get into Monday morning, but a decent amount of sunshine for Victoria Day through Monday afternoon. And temperatures will improve considerably for Victoria Day. I know for coastal areas in particular, it's going to be quite cool for Saturday, likely cool and damp as we look to Sunday as well, with that chance of showers and that brisk wind coming in off the water. So not a great forecast, but it could be much, much worse for our Victoria Day weekend, a long weekend for many. There's our look at the overnight hours tonight, anywhere from 5 to about 8, 9 degrees for those overnight temperatures. You'll see the clouds increasing to a partly cloudy sky with some patchy fog for more northern areas. If you're down near the water, you're going to see those clouds increasing a little earlier, later this evening, just past midnight, and we'll watch for maybe a more widespread fog chance developing for some coastal areas into the early morning hours for Saturday. Saturday afternoon, overcast conditions with showers through the afternoon hours for more southern areas. Late afternoon, evening, it's where you'll see that chance of showers building a little further north and east. I think that rain, for the most part, should hold off until at least very late in the day, likely not even until early Sunday as we look towards Cape Breton. And temperatures will be quite cool across the province. And again, with that wind coming in off the water, particularly for areas along the Atlantic coast where Bridgewater, Halifax, Sheet Harbour, 11, 12, 13 degrees, all you're likely to see for afternoon temperatures or daytime high temperatures for tomorrow. We'll be cool, damp with a good shower chance and periods of rain possible as we look to Sunday for southern areas, but then that sky does at least partially clear from Monday. We'll see a mix of sun and cloud with maybe a few cloudy periods and some fog patches possible into the morning, but the temperature will be recovering nicely, at least for Victoria Day. So not so great for Saturday, Sunday, but improving at least for Monday, finishing the long weekend on a stronger note. And then as we take a look into next week, I'm seeing temperatures back up at or over 20 degrees. Inland areas could be very warm into parts of next week, and we'll start to see some humidity building in as well. So very summer-like temperatures, just not, unfortunately, timing out for a good chunk of that long weekend forecast, of course, for the unofficial start to summer for the Victoria Day long weekend. Amy?
Still, we are getting there, right?
Yeah, and it is a long weekend for most folks. Weather-wise, maybe not adding up to a great one, but hopefully folks will enjoy some time off nonetheless.
Oh, I'm sure everyone will. Thanks, Jay.
Anytime.
Up next, I'll talk with Sherry Robbins, Executive Director of the Blue Nose Marathon. I'll ask about what to expect from this weekend's races. That's our newsmaker. Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News. Runners will soon be lacing up their sneakers for the annual Blue Nose Marathon. This weekend, people of all ages will hit the streets of Halifax. And I'm joined now by Executive Director of the Marathon, Sherry Robbins. So first of all, what goes into planning this every year?
There's a lot that goes into planning. When we're looking at kit pickup, ordering participant shirts, road closures, barricades, just that infrastructure alone, trying to make sure that all our participants, that's a large piece of it. Then the expo, there's a lot of planning. We will very quickly start planning the 2025 event. We'll, get through race weekend and hopefully have a fantastic weekend and put everything away. And within a month, we'll be talking about the 2025 event.
So people have started picking up their kits already today?
Yes, we started, we opened the doors this morning at 10 o'clock at the Zatzman Sportsplex. So we've already seen, at least a couple hundred participants. I was there, just came from there a few minutes ago, and people are collecting their kits and getting ready to show up tomorrow and on Sunday as well for the races.
Well, how many people do you think are going to be taking part this weekend?
I expect there'll be around 9,500 participants taking place.
And in various races?
Yes. So we're kicking off tomorrow morning with our Purple Cow 5K at 8 a.m., followed by the Doctors Nova Scotia Youth Run. We have a 2-kilometer race for them, a 4-kilometer race, and as well we have a low sensory start 4K race. Then on Sunday morning we do it again and we take over a little bit more of the city. We're a little bit more disruptive with the marathon, our Good Life Fitness 10K, and the Metabee Half Marathon.
Well, talk to me about those road closures and, for folks who aren't going to be part of the marathon, what do they want to avoid?
They probably want to avoid this area, Cogswell and North Park Street. So this area will be under road closure for about 6 hours tomorrow as we host the 5K and the youth run, and then longer on Sunday as we have more races going on. So if they go to our website, blueноsemarathon.com, there is a tab under the event weekend that talks about the road closures and parking bans. So we move with the pace of we move with the race. So we'll have road closures coming into place, and then our police officers will open up the roads as it is safe to do so. The McDonald Bridge will be closed from 7:30 until noon on Sunday morning, so people will need to take the McKay. We just ask people to leave lots of time to travel, because it can be hard to move around the city with so many participants and road closures in place.
So for first-timers who are running this weekend, do you have some advice for them?
Advice for them, enjoy the experience and, really celebrate your training, taking that action, like that first step forward and getting out and getting moving, and really just, come early, enjoy all of it, take it in. The start line will have tons of energy, be smiling when you come across the finish line. Who cares about your Garmin and what the time is, but, and then come in and enjoy everything we have here at the Amera Oval.
What has it been like having this event year after year in Halifax?
I love this event. I've been around Blue Nose Marathon since the beginning. I participated for many years, I volunteered, and now I've been fortunate to be able to work for the organization. And I think it's a fantastic community event. I remember my first year and really being blown away by what the volunteers and organizing committee had done. And, it's such a community event. We see, so many charities participating and fundraising for their worthy causes. We're going to have toddlers. We have teeny tiny shirts. There's so many great elements to the Amera Blue Nose Marathon.
Well, talk to me about that charitable aspect. How much money do you raise and where does it go?
So the money that is raised, so we have about 61 charities that participate, and participants will make donations to those charities. They can also fundraise on behalf of those charities. So annually it's about $250,000 plus that those 61 charities collectively raise, and then it impacts their cause.
And do you find people are getting fit because of this? Do you see more people out on the streets prior to the race?
Yeah, I see a lot of people. Like the last week, I'm like, everywhere I go, I see participants running. It's also been a beautiful week. And that's our goal, that people will take up running and continue to be healthy and active. And that's why, things like the youth run are so important to us. So if we can encourage healthy, active living early on, and running is a great thing that it can come in and out of your life, and it's a great stress relief. I love going out for a run at lunchtime and, getting some time away and trying to clear my head. So to me, there's so many benefits of running, physical and mental.
And how are you feeling about the forecast?
The forecast? pretty good. It's been changing a lot in the last 24 hours, so my optimal forecast would be a little bit of overcast with like 13 degrees. Those are pretty great running conditions for us. So hopefully Mother Nature will keep her reign and move that to another day, but so far it's looking pretty good.
All right, well, fingers crossed and best of luck on a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, Canada's top spy agency says if you use TikTok, be careful. China could be spying on you. Welcome back. Some encouraging news for thousands of displaced residents of Fort McMurray, Alberta. The danger from a wildfire that forced them from their homes earlier this week has been downgraded. And as Julia Wong reports, that's thanks to some much-needed rain.
There's some encouraging news for evacuees from Fort McMurray. The fire danger in the area is now low, down from extreme the last few days, and that's all thanks to recent rain. Now, rain has been falling over the Fort McMurray area Thursday and today, and that's led to quieter fire activity, according to Alberta Wildfire. Now, to be clear, that fire is still a threat. It's still burning out of control, and it's still burning mere kilometers from the community. More than 6,000 people were forced out of Fort McMurray because of the threat that this fire posed, and many are now waiting the situation out. They say the rain has been encouraging and they are hopeful about what that means. Now, officials say that they are working on a plan for residents to return. They previously said it would be Tuesday at the earliest, but it now seems like that date is open for discussion.
The rain is coming down on us, and that Mother Nature has graced us with that, and we'll take every bit of it. And with that comes, the possibility of a different return date, but we are going to make sure that it is safe to do so.
If they have it under control and they really, trust that they're giving us the right direction and everything, that it is okay to return, then for sure we'll be going home.
The regional fire chief says they will be looking at a few benchmarks before people can go back to Fort McMurray. Alberta Wildfire says that includes the weather, how many resources are being put on the fire, and how much the fire has been contained. Officials hope to have a return plan in the coming days. Julia Wong, CBC News, Long Lake, Alberta.
In the U.S., at least 4 people are dead in Houston after severe storms swept from Texas to Louisiana. Nearly 1 million homes and businesses are without power.
Oh my God.
Houston officials say some outages could last weeks. The thunderstorms that hit the city had hurricane-force winds. Windows were blown out of downtown skyscrapers and transmission towers were toppled. Houston's mayor is telling people not to go to work downtown unless they're considered essential workers. A new temporary pier built by the U.S. is helping bring desperately needed aid to Gaza. The first shipment of humanitarian aid has already started rolling into the besieged enclave. But even as they welcome it, UN officials say it's no replacement for deliveries by land. Margaret Evans has the details.
Gaza's temporary pier, courtesy of the Americans, and now floating off the pained strip of land that is Gaza. A first shipment is already on shore. The pier promised as a temporary lifeline for Palestinians faced with potential starvation. But for those who've lost homes, livelihoods, and loved ones to Israel's brutal 7-month offensive, one hand gives while another takes away. They hit us at night, says Nadia Aldabs, and then support us during the day. We don't want ships, says Hassan Abu Al-Qas. We want the border crossings to open, for people to come and go. We want safety. Israel seized operational control of Gaza's crucial Rafah border crossing with Egypt earlier this month. Aid agencies say a floating pier can't replace the need for sustained assistance overland.
So we don't have medical supplies. We don't have a fuel. We have hospitals that are under evacuation order. We have a situation where we cannot move physically.
The closure, along with warnings to Palestinian residents and the hundreds of thousands still sheltering in Rafah to leave, raised fears of an imminent ground invasion there. But Israel calls it a limited operation, even though Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says more Israeli troops will be deployed there. Hamas cannot regroup at the moment, he's saying, insisting Israel is cutting off and wearing down the militant Islamist group. But with fierce fighting returning to areas Israel supposedly cleared months ago, there is little sign of an end to this war. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Ontario's Public Health Agency is reporting that a child under the age of 5 from Hamilton has died of measles. It is the first measles death in the province in decades. As Talia Ricci reports, with cases on the rise globally, health experts are urging Canadians to get vaccinated.
Public Health Ontario said the child who died was not vaccinated against measles. Officials haven't confirmed when the child died or their exact age.
Even though there's an awful and tragic case in Ontario, it's also important to remember that there are about 130,000 deaths related to measles all over the world per year, and that the vast majority of these deaths are in children and, of course, are preventable.
A report from the health agency shows there were no other measles-related deaths recorded in the province since 1989, when tracking first began. Measles has been on the rise across Canada as cases increase globally, particularly in Europe.
We will see Canadians who might travel abroad who are unvaccinated or undervaccinated possibly pick up this infection and bring it home, or other travelers come to Canada with this infection. We have seen imported cases. Unfortunately, that's going to be an ongoing issue.
There have been 22 cases in the province so far this year. 6 of those cases were in Toronto. 15 of the cases were linked to travel. 13 of the cases were children, and in 12 of those instances, the children were not vaccinated, while the vaccination status of 1 was unknown. The report says 5 infections, all in unvaccinated children under 5 years old, required hospitalization.
Initially, it can be like any kind of viral infection when you have a runny nose, coughing. We might have these spots inside of your gum, inside your cheek, and then you get, usually a few days later, you get the typical symptoms of a rash that usually starts in the head and goes down, and you can get red eyes, again, fever, and then from there can be all kinds of complications.
Doctors are also saying that interruptions to childhood vaccination schedules during the pandemic means that some children may have missed a dose.
Now, there's been a lot of outreach from public health units to really ensure people are up to date, especially if they might have missed a vaccine or two during some of those darker days.
As well, so in some places, the infrastructure for public health and vaccination has decreased. But also with COVID, there was an increase in the amount of people having vaccine hesitancy.
According to the Canadian Immunization Guide, the first dose should be given when a child is 12 to 15 months of age, and the second at 18 months or any time after that, but no later than around school entry. Doctors say if you're planning to travel with an infant, the first shot can be moved up to 6 months in some cases. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
A CBC News investigation shows that most Canadian universities do not track student suicides. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has more on our exclusive findings and why some say they're so concerning.
When he was in his first year of university, studying science and playing football, he was under a lot of pressure. Then he had a concussion.
Everything kind of just went boom after that. I became depressed, and after about a month of being depressed, I had suicidal ideation and had to go see a therapist.
Recent reports show that mental health of university-aged people has declined since the pandemic. But we have learned just how difficult it is to get a precise look at how many students struggle with thoughts of suicide. CBC News reached out to 52 major universities in Canada. The exclusive investigation found that more than 70% did not internally track student suicides or attempted suicides.
Understanding and tracking suicide allows us to react and try to provide supports and services to the student communities if we're not serving them adequately.
Some university officials say there are good reasons this information isn't collected.
We are sensitive to the privacy issues. We're very sensitive to the mourning and the loss that the family and friends of the deceased go through. And so we don't track it because there is actually no reporting structure from the chief medical examiner back to us in terms of cause of death.
But some family members who have lost loved ones say knowledge is power. Andrea Howell's son's university did track suicides at the time of his death on campus in 2017, but these numbers weren't publicly shared.
I know there was another student that had died by suicide the month prior to Chase in his dorm, and that brought up questions for me whether an opportunity might have been missed for me to have a conversation with Chase after that event.
As she advocates for more transparency, Isaiah Neal is working with suicide prevention organization Jack.org to help peers who may also be struggling and feel they have nowhere to turn in moments of crisis. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
For anyone struggling with thoughts of suicide, help is available. You can call or text the Suicide Crisis Line. The number is 988. It's available 24 hours a day. The head of Canada's spy agency has a stark warning about TikTok and its alleged links to the Chinese government. The social media app has more than 1 billion users worldwide, but it has been deemed a threat by CSIS. The Prime Minister says Canadians should listen. Ashley Burke has the story.
TikTok's one of the most popular video apps in the world. It's a place where anyone can go viral. But the country's top spy is warning Canadians to stay away.
As an individual, I would say that I would absolutely not recommend someone have TikTok.
David Vigneault told the host of CBC's The House, Catherine Cullen, that China's government has a clear strategy. Use TikTok to acquire users' personal information.
Most people can say, what is it a big deal for a teenager now to have their data? Well, in 5 years, in 10 years, that teenager will be a young adult, will be engaged in different activities around the world.
CSIS found that Beijing uses computer farms that crunch data to develop artificial intelligence. Experts warn that data mining from TikTok could be used for deepfakes, blackmail, and massive data hacks.
When the director of CSIS is pointing out that TikTok poses a real threat to the data security of Canadians, I think Canadians need to listen.
Over security concerns, U.S. President Joe Biden gave TikTok's parent company a year to sell the app or face a U.S. ban. Canada has forbidden the app on all government devices, but the Prime Minister says he's waiting to see what happens in the U.S.
The concerns are that the data that TikTok collects on all of its users gets simply funneled to the government of China and is used to, potentially for nefarious purposes.
We're Canadian. Of course we buy our milk in bags.
Canadian comedian Matthew Pujitsky makes his living by posting content online to sell tickets to his stand-up shows.
If your main interest is protecting data, what about like Meta and Facebook, Instagram? It's all like they make money by literally selling your data. So I kind of find it hard to understand what their logic is there.
Some experts say that the bigger problem is that there's nothing stopping social media companies from selling users' data, including to entities with strong links to China. TikTok says that it's never shared Canadian user data with the Chinese government and wouldn't if asked. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The world's #1 ranked golfer was arrested early this morning in Kentucky. Scottie Scheffler was on his way to the PGA Championship when police stopped him near the course.
Guys,
what do we tell you?
I'm staying back.
Here's the thing. Right now, he's going to jail. Okay? He's going to jail, and it ain't nothing you can do about it.
Stunning images show Scheffler handcuffed and being led to a police car. Police allege he dragged an officer while illegally trying to get around the scene of a fatal accident. The two-time Masters champion was charged with second-degree assault of a police officer and reckless driving. Scheffler was released later in the morning, and he returned to play in the PGA Championship. All right, we've got Jay back with one last look at the weather.
Yeah, and we'll start with your day planner for the HRM, Amy, for tomorrow. Starting out with maybe breaks of sunshine in the morning. There's a good chance for coastal areas to see some early morning fog patches as well. That temperature will be up near the double digits to start the day. That wind from the east will be picking up, though, gusting to 40, even for some exposed areas beyond 40 kilometers per hour into the afternoon. Overcast conditions with a good chance of some showers developing into the afternoon as well. And those temperatures with that cool wind coming in off the water likely going to top out for much of the HRM between 10 and 13 degrees. So it will be quite cool as we look to your Saturday. Now, as for how the long weekend is shaping up across the region, we will look for morning breaks of sunshine, becoming cloudy, showers for the HRM afternoon, more northern and eastern areas likely to see that wet weather holding off until very late in the day. Cloudy with a chance of showers, drizzle as we look to Sunday, still quite breezy. But for Victoria Day on Monday, we'll see those breaks of sunshine becoming more frequent into the afternoon, and temperatures will be improving back to around seasonal averages for a daytime high. Inland areas could be even warmer than what you're seeing here. So finishing the long weekend at least on a stronger note than how we're going to enter things certainly tomorrow with that fog and that shower chance and that cool, damp easterly wind that we'll be seeing through the day.
All right, well, enjoy the long weekend, whatever the weather.
Thanks. You too, Amy.
Well, a French-Swiss artist has painted a giant artwork on grass to bring attention to the plight of migrants crossing from Africa to Europe. Take a look at this. The piece is called Bright Dreams. It shows a little girl tilting a lighthouse to help guide a boat. The lights are real lamps placed, and there's an inflatable boat nearby. The artist, Sype, is paying tribute to the French charity that rescues migrants in the Mediterranean Sea. Sype is known for creating massive frescoes on grass, sand, and snow. The land artist uses eco-friendly paint, mostly made out of chalk and charcoal. Well, that is it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great long weekend.